Hey, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. I just got home, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of basically prepare some stuff that I got at the store today. Okay, got to wash my hands when I get home. Make sure I have my hands washed, and whatever else. So okay, so I hope you're doing well. I'm having a soda, so. Here. What I'm going to do is kind of a multiple kind of step process here. I do have quite a bit of leftover kind of stuff on the stove here. I got to kind of just get some of this stuff off. Sometimes when you cook other stuff, it stays kind of on there. You just kind of got to wipe it off. It's obviously not, sort of scrubbed clean and stuff, but just kind of get some of this stuff. Anytime you're cooking with those chopped almonds like I was doing, they kind of tend to go everywhere. And so I guess in a way it's kind of good to kind of get those sort of like cleaned up and stuff. So anyhow, I got a couple of donuts I got that I just got to simply put away. Okay. And so, I got them here. They've been sitting here for a little while. So I just simply got to get these put away, okay? So. Bag totally goes on this one. Just simply get that out of there onto this sheet right here. Okay. A little bit of smoke. I don't know exactly what that's from. If we're getting more of those fires going into the winter, I just don't know. Let's see here. Have to start eating more of some of the stuff. Most of that icing totally came off on that donut. It's going to be too bad, but I guess we'll just kind of deal with it. We're getting some sneezing, some coughing. Okay. Okay, great thing with some pork I'm going to be able to use some of this pork, okay, that I got today. I'll do kind of the similar of what I was doing before. I don't exactly know right now as I'm talking to you. I kind of got an idea as to how I'm going to prepare this pork, okay? But need to take it out and kind of look at it a little bit. See exactly what I want to do with it. Clean off the cutting board here. Basically, what we got here, we're actually going to look at this pork. It's pretty good pork here. It's a pork top loin boneless. It's whole, okay? So this weighs about 3 pounds, okay? We do have a discount on this that I applied. I also was able to apply a second discount, so it ends up being very good, okay? And what you notice here is you definitely have a fair amount of fat on this, okay? Obviously I don't necessarily use trim. I cut that off and I will use that fat, okay? It doesn't complete all the way, okay? But it does kind of come a fair way here. And you know, it is just sort of a, there were other pieces that were larger. There were a couple that were a little bit smaller, but for the most part, this was kind of on the sort of the smaller mid-range of the other pieces of pork there, okay? It does look pretty good, and we can definitely cook. I'm going to cook with this today, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get it in a dish that I'm going to actually use to cook, okay? And I got to get this dish so that I kind of am able to figure out how to cook and season. At the same time, I want to get my seasonings and salt, okay, to cook with it, okay? I've got onion powder, I've got salt, and I'm gonna have to open a new garlic powder. I'm getting a little bit. I'm trying to think here. I've got to refill some of the other ones, and actually that's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So sometimes the seasonings go up and down in price. All of a sudden the prices go way up. All of a sudden the prices go way down. Sometimes you can still find prices that are really good, okay? Other times you think, oh, you know, things just got totally out of hand with the prices and stuff. This actually hasn't been opened. So what I'm going to do is, instead of opening it additionally, right, because sometimes you get off center, right? Somehow you buy 3 onion, 3 garlic, you know, maybe whatever the other seasonings you have, and then somehow you get off a little bit. So sometimes if you buy the glass ones, you can try to reuse them, okay? And it does end up saving quite a bit of money, but not always, okay? Because somehow when there's sales, you know, even me, I tend to sometimes buy or attempt to buy a larger amount that that sometimes isn't actually less expensive, okay? Like a Walmart, okay? A Walmart is usually pretty inexpensive, whereas, you know, you buy a larger amount of, let's say, a 365 from Whole Foods, okay? Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. Sometimes you feel better about it. You don't always know, but I did get this. I think there was maybe a discount or something. I bought this quite a while ago. So I want to use it, and then I basically combine it with an older glass jar. And what I pretty much have to do is I'm going to try to actually use a spoon on this, because when I pour it, I end up spilling, and I don't actually have a funnel, like one of those plastic sort of funnels that you could just pour in and fill. It is probably something I would want to get eventually, but I think right now I could just simply use or attempt to use a spoon, but it won't actually fit in there. It's sort of why some of people, you prefer the oval, okay, as opposed to the total round. Most of the time I prefer the total round, but the oval, you'll see, will fit into some of these, and so you might not have some of the limiting problems, okay? So I'm going to just simply open this and try not to spill. But what I can do, okay, I can do it within the dish if I'm going to cook within the dish. Not necessarily something festive or seasoning in the dish, but just simply cooking part of the meat in the dish. That way I save some of the seasonings. They don't go on the counter or all over the floor or whatever, okay? So that's what I'm going to try here. And I hope I'm not going to get sick. Sometimes I get sick sometimes. I just all of a sudden don't feel good. And I think, wow, like I really got to take a break, or I really got to stop doing this, or stop doing anything at all, okay? So I'm simply just going to dip the spoon in here, okay? And then I'm going to actually set this over here. And I'm pretty much just going to start pouring it in, okay? The spoon doesn't fit all the way, which I wasn't totally prepared for. Okay, and then obviously some of that extra is just going to kind of go into that baking dish a little bit, which I will reuse or use later. You can see here, if you want to talk about science, okay, I'm getting a lot of that sort of static collection on the bottom of it. I don't know if you can see that in the camera there. It sort of flies off as that static wears off, okay? That's definitely something to look at, but I wouldn't actually know how to say exactly what that is. But you can tell it's sort of that sort of spriny, sort of prickly, sort of stick together off the bottom of it. I don't exactly know what causes that. It's almost similar to kind of like, if a balloon kind of sticks to a person's hand or something, with that static electricity. That's the only thing I can really think of. I just basically get this filled up here, okay? And then I pretty much have, my replaced can here. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're actually saving any money, okay? The idea is that you buy the spice in bulk, you reuse the containers that are more expensive. On a general basis, right, with no discounts, you may save money. But when you go to an organic, okay, or this is a non-GMO Whole Foods, right? This, I think, was an organic, right? But even like a, like a Walmart in the plastic container, you can still use the plastic containers. You don't always necessarily save any money, okay? You try to, and you usually, in a way, kind of do, because you have more of it. You don't have to spend the money this week on it, but that's just kind of what I'm saying. Sometimes, I. You got to make sure the labels say what they say on them, okay? If you forget about that, or you're not able to easily remember, okay? Looks like on the last one I'm not actually going to be able to fill it. It's like I'm just going to get these 3, and I can kind of just see. So I get that one each. See, I'm going to spill now. I get down towards the bottom of it, I just spill some of it, it just kind of goes out. You sort of say, well, I got to use something that I can reuse to try to collect some of it, And I'll basically just try to pour this into here at the end here. Okay. And then obviously I just spill right at the end, So what I'll do is I'll use the one that's sort of, partially half full there. And then, excuse me. Okay. I'm gonna get my, sorry, I'm all of a sudden really coughing. I don't exactly know what that was from. So I'll pretty much just try to pour all this into here. Okay, and then I'll do kind of basically a little bit more. And then this goes in the cupboard. Oh, that was garlic. Oh no, that was onion. Wait, did I totally forget that? Okay, that was onion. This is garlic. All right. Sorry, I'm a little bit confused. That's why when you use more than 2 or 3 spices, if you get going fast, sometimes it's really tough to try to remember exactly, you know, the amounts and everything. Okay, so that's quite a bit of salt I can use there. That's fine. Okay, then we're going to set this here. Then what we're going to do, because we have this really good amount of fat here, okay? And this is getting right near, oh no. It's getting close. It is US inspected. Okay, what else can we say about it? All right, let's open this. And what we're going to do is pretty much get it ready. I need to get a plate. And I'm going to get a towel so I can start kind of the entire process, okay? Need a towel right here. Hope that's the right towel. Maybe I'll get a new one. It's always better just to kind of have a clean towel for hands. Okay, I'm going to mix the, I'm going to not use the mixing or the measuring spoon. I'm going to just use a regular spoon, which I normally do. And I got a fair amount of salt in this, so this is going to be a little bit saltier. Okay. Now we're going to open this. What I'm pretty much going to do is I'm going to drain it into this. But it's not really, there's not much to drain right there, okay? So that's actually pretty good. I'm pretty much just going to set this into the dish, okay? Put this into the dish. It does have a little bit of a meat smell to it. I think that's okay. And then we're going to season it right away so we get that seasoning into it, okay? And just get kind of this, some of this seasoning into this, okay? Maybe it could have gotten a little, let it set a little colder in the refrigerator. I don't want to use too much seasoning. I just want to make sure I get kind of this, sort of this seasoning on there, okay? And what I got to do is I got to start that process, okay? Because I want to get this fat cut here, okay? Try to get this up here. You can use your finger a little bit, right? Get this sort of on the cutting board. And kind of feel this for some of this fat right here, okay? And some of this fat just basically peels off, which I don't know that it's not necessarily bad, but and I'm basically just getting I gotta use the knife a little bit, okay? But most of it is just sort of coming off, right? We're getting kind of a nice amount of fat there, okay? Now there is some still fat on it, okay? So we want to try to cut the rest of this fat off it, but be a little bit different about it in terms of how much is left on. What you end up having is you end up having a little bit of kind of that excess on there, so you can double cut it a little bit. Not, what I mean by that is just kind of cutting it again and again and again so that you're getting kind of that extra sort of meat off there. I'm going to explain that in a minute. Okay. See, I cut down. Big kind of problem in terms of some of the meat and cutting. Okay, I got to kind of cut across because the meat, the fat kind of trails off. See, and then you go deep down into the meat, and then you say, wait a minute, I got way too much meat on this fat piece. Okay. You end up having like a secondary kind of cut there. Okay. All right, so this actually ends up being pretty good. I do have a little bit of extra meat on there. you're gonna have a tiny bit of problem with that. I gotta kind of try to cut this off here, okay? Because I don't want that much. You gotta kind of go under it. Make sure try to get all that you can on there as best as you can. There we go. I'm going to keep doing some of this because it means that there's more meat on here that you want to separate. What you really end up getting is kind of this, get more of the fat, but I want to get as much meat off this as possible, okay? Basically, this ends up being kind of a neat kind of cut here. Get kind of that last little bit of fat off there. Okay. And then this is all pretty much fat on here. So what we do is we just make sure we season this. We can cut it in a couple of different lengths. Okay. And then this, so some of the thickness kind of stays with it, okay? You have a little bit of meat on here. It'll just separate off, just sort of very well there, okay? You pretty much have to get this sort of, these pieces so they will cut and cook, okay? It's gonna have a little bit of meat on it. I think that's gonna be okay. When we start with this oven, turning this oven on, okay? We gotta season a little bit more and we'll get this going. Okay, we're gonna season the tops of this. We can look for more of the fat on this. And there actually is sort of a piece here we can get, but after that, we pretty much start going in farther to the meat. We don't necessarily want that, okay? We'll season this mostly fat here with a little bit of meat, but not much, okay? And then this is going to basically go into the oven so that we get the fat from it, okay? We want all this fat from it. With some of the rules and things you have, sometimes it becomes more tough just simply to cook meat or buy meat, season it, put it in the freezer, let it sit for a few weeks, you know, it ends up becoming kind of a difficult thing. So you have to kind of think, you know, how am I going to change what I cook or change what I do? Just simply to, you know, to get everything to, to be the best. I will turn on the oven. I will start this and I will get this right in the oven as it warms up. And I will do and get this timer to work. I've been having a little bit of difficulty with the timer. This timer is not going. Okay, we'll start it. We'll do about 2 hours on that. Obviously, when you cook the fat down, you pretty much always want it to be in stainless steel, but the problem is I have a larger roasting pan, okay? What do I do? I don't have a smaller stainless steel cooking item, okay? I don't really know what the answer is for that. So, you know, if you buy a smaller stainless steel, I guess I could go try to find one. You definitely don't want to use the stove. And you probably don't want to attempt to use the crock pot because You know, you end up sort of saying it's better just being in the oven. And you probably don't want to use the griddle that I was using for the sandwich. Okay, we're going to season this, but what we're going to do, okay, is we're going to try to cut off pieces I can cook on the stove, okay? So you pretty much just try to cut this along here, okay? Got a little bit of a tough piece here. I don't know if this is a bone or what. It's a little piece of a bone here. I just saw it, okay? And I just felt it inside. That's why seasoning it, okay? I don't know if you can see it here. It's just a tiny little piece of bone right there, okay? It is sharp. It is cut. I'm going to set that over on the corner of the cutting board, okay? I don't know exactly if that would be part of a... I just want to feel along, see if there's any other little pieces of bone that may have kind of just been left on that cut, okay? And then pretty much you just kind of have to figure out, you know, how you want to cut this. I don't mean to be like that. I just mean, you know, do you want it in longer strips? Do you want it in thinner strips? Do you try to cut along a piece of fat so that it's part of the same? You know, some of this will kind of separate on its own in a way, okay? You don't actually have to cut much of it, but I don't actually always want to do that, okay? What you end up having is kind of this different kind of color of a cut on it, okay? Right? Some of it just sort of separates off, you know, and so you say, well, you know, how would we cook that, you know? Okay, what you get is you get kind of this heavily sort of more fattened, which you can almost roast, okay, slower in the oven, but it's a little bit iffy for me if I want to roast this in the oven or pan fried, okay. This obviously here is something that looks a little bit like leaner part of the meat, but I'm definitely going to pan fry that. I think I'm going to actually pan fry both, and I may go, because part of the end of this here, you end up with kind of these, what I kind of like is just kind of cutting these slices off. Trying to see how I can do this without, sometimes you want to get this back in the refrigerator with the seasoning almost as soon as possible. I almost want to keep this cut, okay, all together, but I'm a little bit not sure what to do with it. There is some good fat on it. I mean, this is almost like something you would want to roast, but I don't have the ability to just put stuff in the freezer for several weeks on end. I mean, ideally, you could wrap this up with seasoning or some salt, put it in the freezer, and just leave it there for, you know, several weeks until you are ready to cook it. But with everything that's going on, okay, you pretty much have to cook it today. So it changes, you know, when you get a piece like this that just, you know, does have really good fat through it, and you would say, let's roast this, you know, for a little while. Then you can even, if you wanted to, you know, sort of do some of that searing stuff you see in television stuff, you know, on the videos and stuff. So what I'm pretty much just going to do is cut this in half. I don't even want to cut this in half. I just want to leave it all as one piece, but I'm going to have to cook it today. So, and I'm not going to trim that little piece of fat off either. I almost want to. It's just really difficult. So what I'm going to try to do is keep most of that piece intact with part, and I will make a diagonal cut across, okay? So what I end up with is just kind of a piece like that that's going to cook well, and then this piece that's going to cook well, but it'll have that little extra fat on it. And what I pretty much got to do here is kind of go a little bit, kind of get some of this leaner pork off this faster, so that I can just kind of, you know, get this ready to get, you know, seasoned, get it cool again, and then put it right back in the pan because we're going to cook it. Okay, and I'm just going to get kind of a little bit of offer places here, okay? You know, places and pieces of meat that are going to cook a little bit different and thinner. So I have a little bit of trouble sometimes. You sometimes think, wow, like what if I could just handle, you know, really cold meat, right? and then everything would sort of stay. I wouldn't get any of the change of the, the softerness of it or whatever. You just kind of think a little bit like that sometimes. Okay. Same here. I'm going to get kind of a odd little piece here that I think will cook well as a pan fry. Okay, and you basically just get sort of pieces like this. This is sort of going to be the last couple ones of them. And then we'll get this in here. Try to keep, the width as best you can for your eating. And I'll leave that one in place. Then what I'm going to do is kind of do a fast seasoning here. Just get this seasoning on here. And I get a hair in there. Sometimes I think I lose a hair. It goes right into the pork. I get a little bit worried sometimes. I'm like, did I really just do that? I don't actually know. I sometimes see it and I'm like, oh man, I got to figure that out. And then just get this kind of seasoned here. I almost thought I lost a hair in there or something. Gotta get all these pieces seasoned as best I can, and then get these back into the refrigerator. It's just, just get them a little bit cooler back. I've got a little bit of seasoning left. I can get all these little pieces here that are going to go into. Here, I pretty much got to get the aluminum foil on this. Get this back into the refrigerator. Keep this cold so when I'm ready in a few minutes, so I can prepare to kind of cook it. I hope I have good amount of space for this in the refrigerator. I have to move stuff. I have to get rid of some of the other items that I wasn't able to eat as much later. Okay. I'm still gonna get blocked. No, okay. And then pretty much I just sort of gotta clean everything up. So that I got this in the oven, and now it's sort of, doing the dishes and cleaning the cutting board and everything. I'll throw out this piece that had the bone in it, and then just basically start cleaning up. It's going to get a little bit hot for me. I'm going to probably have to take a break, okay, because I'm going to get too hot. I'm just kind of sitting here doing this, okay, with the hot water and everything. Sometimes it's a little too much for me to do this, in terms of every day and everything. I just got to take a little bit of a break, eat some of the bread and stuff like that for a while. So I'm going to end it there, and I'll probably post a little bit later once I get ready to put that into the pan to fry it, okay? I hope you're doing well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.